Well, hello everyone. Ingafay here. Super excited to share another one of my coaching girlfriends with you. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Ingafay and I am a confidence coach for home-based business owners. And today I'm sharing my girlfriend Amanda with you. She is an inner calm coach for highly achieving women in business. After 18 years in the corporate world, in 2007, she ran her own multi award winning business. The business was very successful, but she was unhappy and she developed chronic anxiety and reached a point of burnout. I'm sure many of you guys have been there. She made some radical changes in her life and to her business. And after that, her business continued to grow and she was happier. And as a result of that, she sold her business 11 years after that for six figures, y'all. And she retrained as a coach. And now she helps women entrepreneurs to navigate the calm and peaceful route to success so that they can mentally strive in their own business. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to my girlfriend, Amanda. We'll see you inside. So, what's going on, Amanda, girlfriend? How you doing?
I'm really good, thanks, Inga. Thanks for having me on. It's been a real pleasure getting to know you, and now to sort of do this together is wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes. So before we get started, girl, I wanted to find out more about you because I'm sure the audience wants to know about you, who you are, who you serve, and how you serve them. I mean, I know I already did the bio, but just tell us a little bit more juicy stuff.
Sure, sure. Well, because I was somebody who started out in corporate, and I actually was in corporate for 18 years before I took the brave step, if you like, to go into my own business. And when I stepped out of corporate into business, I didn't realize it was kind of like from the frying pan into the fire. I learned a hell of a lot about myself in those first 6 months of running my own business. Some of it was good, some of it was not so good. Um, but what I did learn was very useful in what I do now is that I help people navigate their journey in a much easier way because of the things that I learned along my path. So I help female entrepreneurs and business leaders to sort of navigate around those roadblocks that I came across. And I do so by enabling them to tap into their own core strengths, and those are found within. One of the things that I really like to tell my clients to start with is that you have everything you need right inside of you. I don't need to bring anything. You've got it all. It's just connecting with it. And that's what the beauty of finding that space within you and that calm within you can give you, not just in your business, but in your life.
Oh, that is so true. I have definitely experienced that myself within my business.
hmm
So, how is it possible to be completely fearless? I think every entrepreneur wants to know this. Really, every person wants to know this.
Well, truth bomb here. I don't think there is a secret way to be completely fearless. I think fear is something which is completely innate in a human being. There is something which is programmed into our brains from way back when that keeps us in a state where we have to be safe. So fear will always be something we have to live with. But what we don't have to live with is a chronic state of fear, which is what I experienced myself. And so I think when I talk about being fearless, I talk about taking the steps that you need to do, even though fear is present. Um, I always use an example of somebody like Tom Cruise. I find him completely fascinating because he seems to have no fear. But when he's been interviewed about it, he talks about the fact that there is fear there, but he just doesn't see it and doesn't acknowledge it the way you or I might. I just find that really fascinating.
Awesome. Why is fearlessly calm? Well, what is fearlessly calm? Maybe that's the better question.
So to me, that combination of being fearless, where you don't feel fear the way you might do otherwise, and being calm, is a really powerful and potent combination. So it enables you to access things that you can't when you're feeling fear. If you can tap into your inner wisdom and drop down into your body and out of your mind, if you like, you can actually notice sensations which aren't available to you when you're in that fight flight sort of situation. So I think that fearlessly calm to me speaks about being successful in a way that isn't accessible if you are in that fearful mode. And I love being able to help people access that state. It's just gives you that inner wisdom that is always available to you, but you just can't hear it when your fear is shouting louder. I think your inner wisdom whispers to you, or it nudges you, or it kind of plays with your body sensations. But sometimes we just don't pay attention to that. So it's teaching you to be more aware of that and being really kind of tuned in to those sort of vibrations and those kind of nudges that we get.
So how do you do that? I mean, that sounds great, but how do you actually do that?
I think it's practice. It's not something you can just switch on and leave it on like an electric switch. You have to be very once you've grown this awareness, once you've awakened to it, if you like, it's about keeping that momentum going. It's like any habitual practice that you have. It's like going to the gym. It's like drinking lots of water every day. It's something that you create within your daily practice. So it's really about presence more than anything, paying attention to what's right here, right now. And I think, if you think about it, anxiety doesn't live anywhere outside of your body. Fear is in the mind. It is totally within you. And so it's well within your control to limit that, if you like. So I think one of the things I would say is that if you can keep yourself present as much as possible in your life, then you are halfway there. Because I used to have a mantra actually that was everything is all right right now, because it is. And every time you move to the next moment, everything's all right right now. And actually, it's just being very aware of that, because when we slip into anxiety, it's because we've gone into the future. Or if we're in depression, it's often about the past. So it's about bringing yourselves into this moment. And when you do center yourself and center your body, you'll notice that calm descends automatically. And that is your natural state of being. And I think we've forgotten it along the way. I think we've forgotten that well-being is our innate state. And I think when you find it again, you really treasure it. You protect it like a precious jewel. You don't want to let it go. And that's where the practice becomes easy, because you know what you need to do to maintain it.
That was so good. I can completely relate to what you're saying, that
Hmm.
we have to do those mantras, and it's more of a moment by moment type of decision, more so than something that you're just going to periodically do. You
Hmm.
were so on point as far as saying about is a constant daily activity. I think that's what hinders people from actually taking hold of it, because they think, like you said, that it's something that can just be turned on and off, but it's something that you have to consistently do over time.
Yeah,
It's funny
definitely.
that you mentioned the inner calling, or the knowing. I had something similar to that happen to me yesterday, and I'll just share it really quick. It was that inner knowing, it was that inner peace, it was that small gentle voice telling me, Inga, you need to check your phone bill. I mean, this is just something arbitrary. And I was just
Mm.
like, okay, I'll check it. And the only reason I was checking it, because in my mind, I was sitting here thinking about ways that I could cut costs in my business. And the cell phone had come up before, but I really didn't investigate it. So I felt like this was that inner peace telling me, okay, Inga, you really need to do this. So I did it. And ironically, I was paying for some services that I don't even use. But
Right.
if I wasn't obedient to that voice that I was hearing, I would not have been aware of that. And granted, I've heard the voice before, but it was more of Inga, you need to kind of do this now. And I'm sure you can probably relate to that. We all
Yeah.
have that inner voice that we hear, but every now and then it's more of a I won't say it's like screaming at you, but it's kind of a feeling of, yeah, you got, this is definitely something you need to do right now. Can you speak about that?
Yeah, that so resonates with me because I think that there are degrees to which your intuition is available to you. My dad had an experience when he was a lot younger, whereby he was riding on his motorbike, a normal sort of route that he was doing, and he had this voice in his head which was really quite urgent, I would say, rather than a shout, and it was slow down. And he said that he went over this humpback bridge. He'd slowed down, obviously, went over the humpback bridge, and just beyond the humpback bridge, there was a bad accident. And he said if he'd have carried on the speed he was going, he would have killed himself. He would have been propelled across the road off the bike. And I think that that's a good example where your intuition is something very urgent that you need to listen to. So when I say whisper, it's actually sometimes it is a bit more urgent than that. But I think one of the things that you were talking about, which is very interesting, is that you heard this nudge, you heard this voice. Sometimes you're not in that state of awareness even, and I think cultivating that alone is beneficial. So it's being open to it and really kind of embracing this notion that there might be a deeper wisdom within, and it's taking you away from the kind of knee-jerk reactions that we're all used to. Somebody upsets you, you want to go, oh, I really hate that person, they really annoy me because la la la. Instead, you can kind of step back and go, okay, what are they trying to teach me here? What's my lesson here? Don't make it about them. Look into yourself and see what wisdom you can gain from that experience, rather than being angry and reactive. Just step back and then slip back into your silence. And I think that can be really, really helpful in making you just feel much more at peace with life in general.
I totally agree. But with someone that is, I guess, not there yet,
Hmm.
what are some of the things that they can do to work to be more cognizant of that inner voice, that, I guess, self evaluation of not blaming others? Because some people have a tendency that it's not their fault. It's
Yeah.
Susie Q's fault, or it's Billy Bob's fault, or, everybody's fault other than their fault. How can you get to that point?
I guess it's about taking responsibility. It's about taking back your power, actually. When you think about responsibility for anything, it's all within your control how you react. So whilst, we go around the world thinking, oh, if you'd be better, I'd feel better. Actually, that's backward. Your happiness is down to you and how you feel. And it's got nothing to do with anything external. Happiness is within. And I think what you said earlier about the question of how do you get there if you're in that sort of reactionary state, it's pay attention to your thoughts. Have a listen in as if you're an observer of your thoughts and see what the train of thoughts are, and how, if they're in a negative sort of bent, or if they're dragging you sort of into a spiral of negativity. Just listen to what those thoughts are and how they're affecting you in your body. I think if there's one thing I'd like to say to everybody listening, it's make it your complete intention every day to feel good, because that is the way that you'll quickly align with who you truly are. If you feel bad for anything, look to your thoughts and see what it is that's making you feel that way. And if it's anybody else, then you need to sort of look and see why you're reacting that way to them. Take the blame off them and look at yourself and say, okay, how can I react differently to this? One of the things I love doing, actually, and it sounds bizarre now, but I did some shadow work recently, which is basically you look at the negative traits within your personality, and it really helps me when I get triggered by somebody. So if I notice something that I don't like in someone and they trigger me, what shadow work teaches you is that actually it's just highlighting something within you that you've not made peace with, you've not accepted within yourself. So the question then for you is the question I ask myself is, how am I like that? And you might react straight away being, no, I'm not like that at all, but just sit with it for a minute and you'll soon realise that you are probably just as capable, maybe not to the degree that you've seen or witnessed, but there is a capability there. And it's just because you haven't accepted it within yourself, you've projected it out and you see it in someone else. It stops you getting triggered so much better if you start to notice that.
Wow. So I'm curious, what power does inner calm hold for us?
I think it gives you an opening to a deeper wisdom and to parts of yourself that you don't realize are there. So there's a power within each and every one of us. I call it a light. And I think that that's the one thing that I would love to see more of, that people see their own light and share it with other people. But I think that's the power that you have within you is greater than you can ever conceive. And I think that if you can center yourself every day, constantly throughout the day, keep yourself centered, then you will see that your wisdom comes through more and more. Something I've learned along my journey in the last sort of 3 or 4 years, people say to me, "Gosh, that's so wise, Amanda," and I just think, no, that's not from me. That's come from somewhere else. It's I feel like a conduit sometimes, that I'm actually just saying something that's greater than me, and that's what I'm sharing. And I think you can access that at any time. And I think that's the power that you have. It gives you that grace that comes from the divine, comes from God. It gives you access to that.
So I'm curious, what was your biggest challenge when making the transition from a corporate employee to an entrepreneur?
Mhm. It was facing up to my strengths and my weaknesses. Um, it was learning more and more about myself, what I didn't like about myself, what I did like about myself. It was relationships with other people. That was probably the biggest source of growth for me, and the most beneficial thing I learned was compassion, because when I became compassionate towards and for other people, I noticed that that was replicated almost immediately, and the cooperation that followed from that was enormous. Um, I think if you can show other people more compassion, you'll see how quickly that can be replicated. And one of the funniest things, I'd like to quickly share is I used to have this practice. I still do to a certain extent. I'd go into a shop and I'd buy something, and I would make it my intention at the end of the transaction for me to say, "Thank you so much. Have a really great day." And I really meant it. I wasn't just saying it as a kind of a habit. I really meant it and sent love to the person who was exchanging with me. What I noticed within days of starting this practice, the other person started saying it to me first.
Wow. Okay. That's cool.
Mm.
So when when you help female entrepreneurs find their fearless calm, what are some of the obstacles that you help them to overcome?
One of the biggest things I think I see a lot is a lack of confidence, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, whatever it is you call it. And I think that sometimes is a sense of lack of worth. We're not enough. We can't do this, and all the things, the thoughts that go through your head. When actually, what I do with a lot of my clients is we step into who we need to be that person that we want to be. That successful woman, that successful entrepreneur. I mean, some of my clients are very successful already, but to get to the next level, they need to up level themselves. And so it's stepping into that feeling of who you want to be and feeling it right now, because this is the only time we can be creative, is in this present moment. So it's really stepping into, who is this person that I need to be to create what I need to create. And I think that's the beauty of the calmness that we can create as a couple. You can actually see in the relationship how that dynamic can be very, very powerful. But also it's that future visioning, and I love doing that with clients, because it's such a, I mean, it's called in the coaching spirit, it's called fulfillment. It's what is going to light you up, what is going to fulfill you. And let's feel that now. Let's not wait until the future. I'll be happy when, I'll do this when. Let's do it right now, because your brain can't tell the difference. If you're imagining or if you're actually there and doing it and being it, it's right now for you. And that's where your creative power is. So that's what I love doing, is giving female entrepreneurs that power right now, and they can access it at any time. And anytime they feel the doubt, they can say, right, who am I being right now? Have I slipped back into my old self, or am I being that future self? Is she with me? Okay, let's go. And it's just reconnecting every single time you have those doubts. So the confidence grows immensely for my clients, which is super to watch.
Awesome. That is so powerful. It's so important for us to become the person that we want to level up to be, because that's
Hmm.
the only way that we can become that person. We can't become the person doing the things that we did a couple of years ago, because that person, that version of ourselves wasn't doing the things that we want to do. I think that's so important to make sure people really grasp that,
Yeah,
because some people for whatever reason think that they can keep doing what they've been doing and then achieve that ultimate result. But that is the journey. That journey between where you are now and where you hope to be is who you will become in that process, which I think is so powerful, so
yeah,
powerful.
yeah.
So before we end today, I wanted to ask you, did you have any final thoughts that you would want to share with my audience about the fearless calm?
I think the thing that I would like to say the most is that it's about you now exploring what that means for you, because when I talk about inner calm, I know what that feels like for me, but it actually, for some of the listeners, they might not know what that really feels like within their body. So I would really encourage people to sit with their body and just feel the sensations that they have, so that they can kind of understand what's going on with their body, because it's a real sense of knowledge. You can get a lot of information from what's going on within your body. You know, you might be smiling, but inwardly you're feeling very sad, and those things then impact you muscularly and emotionally, spiritually. So really pay attention to what's going on inside, and then honor it. So if it's an emotion, you have to feel it and process it, and then let it go. And I think, if you can do that on a regular basis, then you're halfway there to getting to being really, really centered with who you truly are.
I so agree. I so agree. I know recently I was having one of those moments where I was kind of was really stressed out, and I realized it was because I hadn't done my gratitude journal, something that
Mm.
I do I had been doing on a daily basis. I had gone on vacation, and you know how those things are when you're on vacation, you're just really just kind of and chilling and just really enjoying the sights. And that's what I was doing. But when I did that, I was out of my routine. So when I got back home and I started working again, I really started feeling anxious. And I'm thinking, what is going on with me?
Mm.
And I realized I hadn't written in my gratitude journal. And soon as I really just kind of sat down and just journaled my thoughts, it was just the weight was just completely lifted off of me. And I know for me personally, that is how I find my inner peace. But like you had just said, that's
Mm.
something that I had to discover over time that I needed to do. And it's going to be different for every person. It's not a one size fits all. You got to kind of figure that out for yourself, go through the work of working on yourself, just like you said you had to do when you transition from a corporate employee to an entrepreneur. um, you have to do that. And I think entrepreneurship is the best self-help course that you could ever take.
Absolutely, it is.
For
It is.
sure. Now I know you had a freebie that you wanted to share with my audience. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the freebie is, not surprisingly, called "How to Be Fiercely Calm," and I call it my secret success mindset. So the freebie really details a little bit about stress and how it shows up, and fear, and what it really is about, so you can kind of understand it. I think understanding is a great way to kind of process something and make it sort of more simple to understand, but also then when you understand something, it doesn't seem to be as bad as you may imagine it was. There's a phrase, I think, which says that fear makes the wolf seem bigger than he is. So understanding fear can be really, really beneficial, I think. But then there's sort of various tips that I give and strategies that I've used, mindset strategies and spiritual practices that can really help you center yourself, so that you can become fearlessly calm.
Awesome. So if you all are interested in that freebie, here's the bit.ly link for you to get access to that. It will also be down in the description. So for whatever reason, if you don't want to write it down, you can just kind of cut and paste it into your Google or whatever search engine you're using, so you can get access to it. So but we are so excited that you are here with us today. I'm sure you got a lot from Amanda, and be sure to get access to the freebie. I mean, I'm a firm believer that you can't make change if you don't take action. I mean, it's great to know where things are and the right thing to do, but if you're not doing it, you're not going to make the transition at all. So as always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.